The Taliban kills scores in a Pakistan school massacre. We'll have details. A Sierra Leonean in the U.S. sends medical supplies back home to combat Ebola. And do you find George Clooney's wife, Amal, fascinating? You're not alone. Africa 54 starts right now.
Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. First to Pakistan. Taliban militants are claiming responsibility for the massacre of at least 130 people Tuesday, most of them students, in a terror attack on a military-run school in the northwestern city of Peshawar. The Islamist militants were wearing military uniforms and were strapped with explosives. A provincial official says more than 100 others were wounded in the assault. An army spokesman says security forces killed 6 militants and were in the final stages of clearing the school. Reporter Hamidullah Khan told VOA weeping parents are arriving at a hospital where the bodies of many children were taken. Other people are showing up to donate blood for the wounded. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif condemned the assault, calling it a national tragedy. He says the government will not be deterred by this barbaric act and vowed to continue military operations against the militants. Pakistan's neighbor and rival India has denounced today's attack.
No words will capture the feeling of deep revulsion and horror we feel about the terror attack against innocent children of the Army Public School in Peshawar. It was not just innocent children who have been massacred today, but the very conception of humanity.
Well, the Pakistani Taliban, who are fighting to topple the government and set up a strict Islamic state, have vowed to step up attacks in response to a major army operation against the insurgents in the tribal areas. While U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has also spoken about today's attack.
The images are absolutely gut-wrenching. Young children carried away in ambulances, a teacher burned alive in front of the students, a house of learning turned into a house of unspeakable horror. And Prime Minister Sharif said, "These are my children, it is my loss." Well, this morning, wherever you live, wherever you are, those are our children.
Well, Pakistani teenager Nobel Peace Prize winner Malala Yousafzai says she was devastated by the news that scores of people, mostly children, had been killed in Tuesday's Taliban attack. She was shot in the head on a school bus by the Taliban in 2012. In a statement released today, Malala said, "I am heartbroken by this senseless and cold-blooded act of terror in Peshawar. I condemn this atrocious and cowardly act and stand united with the government and armed forces of Pakistan." Well, now to another disturbing story. Sexual assault. It happens in countries all around the globe. Recent news reports about gang rapes in India and sexual violence at U.S. universities has thrust the issue into the spotlight. VOA's Julie Tabo takes a look at some of the ways Americans are confronting the problem, from awareness and activism on campuses to initiatives at the highest levels of government.
Lindsay Armeo is taking a self-defense class at a college just outside Washington.
This class has just been a great tool to me because I know what's going on in other campuses, and I know that I can defend myself.
It's easy to understand why young women want to learn self-defense skills. According to a just-released study by the U.S. Department of Justice, between 1995 and 2013, young women, 18 to 24, experienced the highest rate of rape and sexual assault of females in all other age groups. And many of those assaults are taking place at American colleges and universities. Campus security advocate Daniel Carter says while self-defense is an important component of preventing sexual assault, it doesn't address the root of the problem.
We've got to change our culture of tolerating it, of allowing both stranger and acquaintance perpetrators to re-offend, and having a society that allows it and looks the other way.
We do hear about it in the news, which is kind of shocking.
Cassie Edwards agrees. In October of 2008, she was sexually assaulted at her university in Florida while working at the campus library.
I had a truck of books, and I was getting ready to put them on the shelf, and I noticed a man was on the same floor, and he was in a hoodie. And I didn't think anything of it, and I went down the aisle to put the books on the shelf, and then the man came from behind, and he put me in a chokehold, and he brought me to the floor, and that's when he raped me.
Edwards reported the assault to police, but her attacker was not apprehended. He went on to rape at least 3 other women before he was finally arrested for murdering his girlfriend. Since her attack, Edwards has reached out to other rape victims.
I think me talking helps other victims see that, it's not something that you should be ashamed of.
Edwards has also worked with the Obama administration, which has launched a campaign to end sexual violence on American campuses.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
The campaign includes a public service announcement featuring movie stars, musicians, and politicians, including the president.
And take the pledge at itsonus.org. As far as we've come, the fact is that from sports leagues to pop culture to politics, our society still does not sufficiently value women. We still don't condemn sexual assault as loudly as we should. We make excuses. We look the other way. The message that sends can have a chilling effect on our young women.
As the issue of sexual assault continues to be discussed, the hope is that one day soon, women of all ages can walk the streets and campuses of America without fear. Julie Tabo, VOA News, Washington.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says fewer people were injured or killed by mines or other war remnant explosives last year than in any other year since the turn of the century. His comments come as the State Department released its annual report on the status of conventional weapons destruction worldwide. VOA State Department correspondent Pam Dawkins has our report.
Secretary of State Kerry recounted his own close calls with mines as a naval officer during the Vietnam War.
We looked for anti-personnel mines hidden in discarded sea rations, sometimes booby traps that were made from old artillery shells, stuffed with explosives and wrapped in wax and bamboo, and on occasion we were hit by underwater mines.
He said the U.S. has provided more than $2 billion in international demining efforts since 1993.
With our assistance, children once tethered to trees so that they wouldn't wander out into the killing fields now pass through large areas of countryside without fear in Angola.
In its annual report, the State Department said a total of more than $375 million of that assistance has gone to Afghanistan, a country that retains one of the world's highest levels of contamination from landmines and explosive remnants of wars. It also cited countries including Burma, which has received more than $2 million for victims' assistance programs since 2011. The gains in reducing hazards from conventional weapons have been encouraging, says Kerry.
We can celebrate an enormous amount of progress and recommit ourselves to the task ahead.
But they're hard to find, and that's dangerous work for men and women to do that.
Retired Colonel Perry Baltimore heads a group that trains dogs for landmine clearing operations. He said continued efforts are needed to remove explosives from hotspots in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. The State Department says as of last year, at least 59 countries were still contaminated by landmines. Pam Dawkins, VOA News, the State Department.
Well, 5 of South Africa's largest gold mining companies say they will create a working group to deal with the issue of occupational lung disease. This move comes as the sector faces what could be South Africa's biggest ever class action lawsuit. More than 25,000 miners are seeking compensation from gold mining companies. Emily Eob has the story.
Back in his village in Lesotho, former miner David Maribenyane must rely on his home garden to feed his family. At 48 years old, he can't run or walk long distances, making it almost impossible to get a job. Maribenyane has silicosis, which he says he contracted working for more than 20 years underground in a gold mine in South Africa.
I'm very angry at the mining houses. I came home empty-handed and a cripple. I'm worried about the future because I need to feed my family, and to do so I have to plow. Now I can't because of my shortness of breath.
Silicosis is caused by breathing crystalline silica dust, a human lung carcinogen found in mines. It causes shortness of breath, general weakness, and increased susceptibility to tuberculosis. It cannot be cured. Mary Benyane is one of tens of thousands of former miners who have joined a class action suit filed by 3 South African law firms in an attempt to hold 30 of South Africa's gold mining companies liable for the silicosis.
These box files are the files of the individual clients.
Richard Spoor is one of the attorneys.
Silicosis is not a new thing. It's a very old disease. It's been very well understood for a long, long time. There are laws to protect miners, and there have been laws to protect miners for 100 years. Those laws are very simple. They said you may not expose workers to harmful quantities of dust. You may not do that. It's against the law.
The class action suit came about after Spoor won a groundbreaking case 3 years ago in which a former miner successfully sued his employer for negligence which led to him contracting silicosis. Building the case is taking time. Many of the affected miners are from neighboring countries, so they must be tracked down, screened for silicosis, and informed about their option to join the class action suit. In Lesotho, that's the job of Isaac Shafiq from the Mine Workers Development Agency, or MDA.
Mostly they do not know that they have silicosis. Most of them go for screening in our local health facilities, but the result is always TB. It doesn't go further to determine if it's actually silicosis or what.
Mining companies are challenging the class action, claiming the cause of silicosis is up for debate. But for former miner Mokete Bokako, the connection is obvious.
I've never worked anywhere else than in the mines. I'm like this because of the mines, and I believe that the mines owe me something.
Bokako says he only found out about his lung condition a few years ago after he was retrenched, came back home to Lesotho, and was screened by the class action campaign.
I'm angry when I think that we had a health checkup every 6 months or every year, and the mining company never told me I had silicosis.
In November, 5 of South Africa's biggest mining companies said they would create a working group on occupational lung disease. In the meantime, a ruling on whether the class action suit can proceed is expected in October 2015. It is estimated that 1 in 4 current and former gold mine workers have contracted silicosis. Emilie Yob for VOA News, Johannesburg.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, a Sierra Leonean in the U.S. joins the fight against Ebola. Stay with us.
Hamilton Live is a live audience performance. With live music, you have that interaction. There's nothing like getting that immediate feedback from the folks that you're performing to. They feel it and they respond back to you. You see it in their eyes. You know that you're connecting with them. Like if any form of communication, it's that response you get back.
Welcome back. Bobby Smith immigrated to the United States 25 years ago from Sierra Leone. To give back, 3 years ago, Smith began a small volunteer organization, Hope for Lives in Sierra Leone, to help the disadvantaged in his homeland, one of the poorest countries in the world. As VOA's Deborah Block tells us, Smith began by providing fishing boats and now is sending medical supplies to help combat Ebola, which continues to devastate Sierra Leone.
In this warehouse in Fairfax, Virginia, Bobby Smith is packing medical supplies for shipment to the main hospital in Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown. Among the items are gowns, masks, and gloves to help protect health workers treating Ebola patients. Smith has also been sending rolling beds and wheelchairs since the hospital didn't have any. His mission has become personal since 2 of his relatives in Sierra Leone have died from Ebola.
My people are dying. I'm just trying to help as much as I can.
Smith knows what it's like to save lives since he works on a surgical team at a Maryland hospital's trauma unit.
You know, for the Ebola, this would be like a wonderful thing.
Many of the items he ships back home are donated by hospitals, including these partial rolls of medical tape.
They use just a little bit of it. They don't want to reuse it, so they're just going to dump it.
He gets help with packing and shipping from the Brothers Brother Foundation, a U.S. charity that provides medical supplies to needy countries. Luke Hinkson, president of the group, calls Smith inspirational.
He sees a problem and works to bring the best out of other people to solve the problem.
Smith solved the problem of some fishermen in Sierra Leone who didn't have boats. Using his own money plus donations, he bought 3 boats for them to share. His former primary school didn't have a library, so he helped build one and fill it with books. And when Smith sent over 4,000 pairs of donated shoes, the look in these boys' eyes told it all.
It's like Christmas for them.
Over the past 3 years, Smith has also provided meals for homeless amputees living together in camps who lost their limbs during Sierra Leone's brutal 11-year-long civil war. He met them at a beach where these poignant photos show a bit of fun in their very difficult lives.
Because after the Civil War, they got thousands of amputees without homes. Every Sunday, they have a group that comes in and plays soccer.
His organization is also helping the homeless make money.
We send tools for them to make a living because they can make pots and pans.
His efforts show that small projects can have big results, improving and saving lives.
You don't need a lot of money to help people overseas.
Bobby Smith says Hope for Lives in Sierra Leone will continue sending medical supplies. And once the threat of Ebola has ended there, he will send a team of health workers to perform surgeries for free. Deborah Block, VOA News, Fairfax, Virginia.
Well, in East Africa, students at Uganda Management and Technology University in Kampala are excited to participate in an apps competition. The talented app developers are devising homegrown solutions to problems in the East African nation. VOA's Paul Diho recently visited the campus and tells us more.
Uganda Technology and Management University, UTAM, is a private university, fully accredited by Uganda's National Council for Higher Education, to offer carefully designed and uniquely branded programs at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. The Tech University was created less than 2 years ago, but it's already challenging other universities in the area of innovation. Professor Venansi Sabaryamureba is the university's vice-chancellor.
We wanted a university that can affect the community around us. So what we've done is to ensure that our programs in a way integrate with the community. That's why our first-year students have lots of innovation, even in first year. By the time they reach second year, they have a feel that they can actually have their own companies. And by the time they finish third year, either they can work for great companies or they can work for themselves.
Until recently, Professor Venansi Sabaryamureba was the Vice-Chancellor of Makerere University, Uganda's oldest institution of higher learning. Today, his university has some of the best professors in ICT in Uganda. To stay ahead of the competition, UTAM has introduced a mobile app contest that is open to all university students, and it's generating a lot of buzz on campus. The competition is geared towards giving talented young students the opportunity to showcase their innovations and provide solutions for some of Uganda's problems. Akim Ali Ojok is the University Guild president and an information and technology student. He's developing an app called Mobile Yaka that allows people to pay their electricity bill through their phones.
Anybody who uses a phone, as long as you are in a place where you can use a phone, you've got signals that can reach you. You can be able to communicate with your meter at home.
These students have created some interesting applications that could change the way Ugandans interact with their smartphones and tablets. Kenneth Twesje is a second-year computer science student who is currently working on a social networking application called Kapiachi, or What's New.
After seeing that problem, I went ahead and thought it would be of an importance if I would create an application that these people can always use or get all updates about all those workshops and conferences.
Another IT student, Katumba Ivan Coretta, has developed a cutting-edge security application called Secure Citizen. He says that he wants to live in a crime-free society.
It is called Secure Citizen. That is the name of my application, okay? And it's an easy-to-use mobile-based security platform.
John Nguwiri, Dean at the School of Computing and Engineering Department, says the university is making a deliberate attempt to expose and encourage students to become critical thinkers. They are challenged to think outside of the box, identify problems in their communities, and develop their own solutions.
Our students are always challenged with a lot of projects, a lot of personal study, which is highly evaluated. In the process, they are challenged to learn more about what they've been taught.
Education analysts say UTAM has the potential to train and produce some of the most highly sought-after students in the area of ICT, and that the institution will have a major impact on the continent.
Well, Paul's next report will feature global publishers, Tanzania's leading gossip, entertainment, sports and popular culture newspapers. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. An Angelina Jolie YouTube video goes viral, but you'll never guess why. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Nigeria, the 46th session of the Economic Community of West African States ends with pledges to regional stability. And at least 115,000 Nigerians came to Niger since April 2013, fleeing attacks by militant group Boko Haram. In Kenya, a candlelight vigil is held in Nairobi for thousands killed in the South Sudan conflict over the past year. Finally, in Cape Verde, Pico de Fogo volcano spews fresh lava after causing $50 million of damage since the November 22nd eruption. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending.
I wanted to be clear and honest about why I will be missing the Unbroken events in the next few days.
Well, that's right. Angelina Jolie has created a truly viral video announcing she's missing the Los Angeles premiere of Unbroken because she is infected with the chickenpox virus. Jolie directed the drama that follows the real-life story of American Second World War hero and Olympian Louis Zamperini. The Oscar winner's statement was one of the top videos on YouTube on Monday morning. The clip has over 8 million views on YouTube. Well, next up, from former human rights lawyer to one of the most talked about women in the world, legendary news personality Barbara Walters has picked Amal Clooney as 2014's most fascinating person. Amal rocketed to the international stage when she married Hollywood A-lister George Clooney in Venice in September during a lavish ceremony and after parties that captured the world's attention. So why Amal? Well, Walters explained that tying down George Clooney was really one of the greatest achievements in human history. And finally, time to get in the Hollywood holiday mood.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
Christmas, there is just one thing.
A group of Oxford University students who became an internet sensation with their cover of the Shakira hit Hips Don't Lie are back with their own spin on a classic Christmas tune. The all-male choir known as Out of the Blue has produced an a cappella version of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You in support of charity. The 13-member choir is hoping to raise as much cash as it can for a children's hospice. And the video has received over 500,000 views on YouTube and counting. And that is what is trending today. Well, Egyptologists at Chicago's Field Museum have opened the coffin of a 2,500-year-old Egyptian mummy to repair damage. The necessity of performing conservation work gives scholars a rare opportunity to see a mummy from the inside and to learn more about ancient Egyptian burial practices. Here's VOA's Latza Hogue.
The mummy's coffin was opened very carefully because the contents are extremely fragile.
People think mummies are kind of big and brutal and tough, but they're actually really, really fragile. So even kind of a small quantity of inappropriate handling can do a great deal of damage.
Somebody stood the coffin up on one end and the mummy's legs broke off at the knees. Then his feet broke off at the ankles and rotated sideways, causing the mummy to slide all the way down the coffin. Conservators will have to fix the burial mask and shroud and reconnect the detached feet. Then they'll have to shore up the mummy and the coffin so that they can withstand travel to Los Angeles for an exhibition next year.
He's a 14-year-old boy. We know from the coffin that his name was Menerdis. He was the son of Inaros, who was a fairly important priest of a god called Men in central Egypt.
It is not clear why Menerdis died so young, but opening the coffin provides scientists with a rare opportunity to collect new information about the lifestyle in the later period of ancient Egypt's history.
The story that everybody knows about mummies is that they take your brain out through the nose, they take your organs out, they put them in canopic jars, and they put the jars with the mummy. What happens in this later period, and this is one of the more interesting things that one starts to learn, is that the organs were taken out, preserved, wrapped into packets, and then put back in either into the abdominal cavity or into the chest cavity or between the legs.
Under normal circumstances, scientists use a CT scan to look inside old Egyptian coffins, but there are some things CT scans don't show.
We found after we took the lid off that we could actually see some faint yellow outlines around the mummy, and we were wondering what it could be because it looked like it was intentional. As soon as we took the mummy out, we found that it was actually a painting of the goddess Nut.
In ancient Egypt, Nut was the goddess of the sky. She was supposed to envelop the deceased and take him to the afterlife. Scientists say the discovery of the drawing was a complete surprise. Chicago's Field Museum acquired the mummy in 1920 from the Chicago Historical Society. It will be shown at a mummy exhibition in Los Angeles, scheduled to open next September. Zlatica Hogue, VOA News, Washington.
And that's our show for today. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. Able to touch on things that are important to people on an everyday basis. Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. In a lively half hour, news, sports, health, lifestyle information, comments from our viewers. Africa 54, the best for Africa, about Africa. Join us only on VOA.